Hello and welcome to the Anatomy of Marriage podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Studley.
Good morning, my name is Seth Studley, and I'm scattered because I don't know what day it is. It is day 8.
Day 8.
Of the Anatomy of Marriage question and answers. We take your questions, we answer them in an awesome way.
And you are a licensed marriage and family therapist, which is awesome.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
we have a podcast about marriage because ours wasn't awesome. Check it out. And as always, today's episode is brought to you by Audible. Get a free book on us, a free ebook on us. By ebook, I mean Audible book. Go to audibletrial.com/anatomy of marriage and get your audiobook on us because it's awesome. And every day we do Instagram and Facebook Live. So hello to everyone on Instagram and Facebook Live that we're talking
Linda,
to.
Brittany.
And you can join us every single day.
All right, and we do a couple of things. We start out with a prayer. We share a past gratitude, 2 very important things. Then we read a review of the day, and then we answer you guys' questions live, the questions that we get from email or just dropping us a line on Instagram or whatever. So let's start it out. Let's do this.
Okay.
Thank you, God, Creator, for your blessings. Thank you so much for this sunny day. Thank you for this opportunity that we have to do the podcast, to build a life together, to build a family together. Thank you. I pray that it is helpful to everybody that listens. Amen.
Amen.
All
Good
right.
prayer.
You go first in thankfulness, and I'll think of mine.
In thankfulness.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that this morning I said, I need you in this particular way, and you just were there.
Yeah.
So thank you. We
That's
can talk more about it later because it was really good.
Oh, good. Okay. That's helpful to know. I'm thankful that I'm doing the day 2 of the intentional Brendan Bouchard
High performance
high
planner.
performance planner, and yesterday was the first day, and it was great, and I wouldn't have done it if it weren't for you getting it first. So thanks. On to the review of the day. The review of the day.
We encourage you to do these things with your partner too. So pray with them and be thankful with them. Look, people can't see me.
Okay, I want to read the review of the day. 6 out of 5 stars. That's right, you didn't think it's possible? It is possible. 6 out of 5 stars. My husband and I are 5 years into marriage, and I'm so glad to have this podcast along for the ride. It helped give us language to talk about things I really struggled to communicate early on. Stuff like family expectations and navigating mental health issues. Thanks for being a thoughtful, open-hearted, relentlessly practical fount of wisdom. Ooh. P.S. The extra stars to make up for the haters who would dare rate less than 5 stars. You're welcome. That is awesome. Who is that? Sonia KW. Thank you,
Awesome
Sonia KW.
review.
That is awesome.
Yes, thank you for that review.
Yeah, that helps out. Remember to go and rate and review the show. And, okay, on to the very first question. You typed it out, so I'll let you read it.
Oh, so this says, I have always struggled with shame and guilt. I've always taken it as me being quick to apologize and being meek. But I've learned through therapy that the way I process my mistakes and ways I've hurt people turns me so far inward that I don't acknowledge the other person's feelings. So when my wife and I fight, she gets frustrated because I mentally leave the conversation and start beating myself up, and it's obvious. She takes it as me being selfish sometimes, which makes me feel more shame. How do I take the focus off of myself, even when I know I was the one who screwed up, and then be present with my wife during a fight?
Okay, so this is huge, and there's this thing called a shame cycle. Just like any other feedback loop that we get into, there is a shame cycle. It starts up here, if there's an action that we feel like we need to do, then there's regret, then we have shame, and then we internalize that, and it goes round and round and round.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that you and I have struggled with, and I think shame is, what you said it very succinctly, shame is...
Well, you're talking about what Brene Brown says. Shame is I am bad, that one?
Yeah, and what's the other one?
Guilt is I've done something bad, and shame is I am bad.
I am bad, yeah, and that is huge. And it made me think about all the times that we've had conversations where I made a mistake, right? And she gets angry or hurt or whatever, and then I take that and I internalize that, and I begin to say, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just whatever? And I think that part of that, I think I had a predisposition to that beforehand, and also you had a big part to play in it because you weren't seeing how you were saying
the delivery
things would trigger things in me and just like make me feel like a bigger piece of crap, right? And that really was a dynamic, and I think that's definitely happened from me to you. And so we talked about the miracle morning, Hal Elrod, and he has 6 things, and I don't remember all of them. One is thankfulness. One is, well, the big one that I want to talk about is affirmations, like a daily affirmation. And I've learned, and it's been helpful for me, my life, that I write out daily affirmations of like who I really believe that I am. Like I wrote them this morning. I'll let you read them. I am strong. I am a leader. I am insightful, and I have wisdom. I don't have all the wisdom, but I do have those things, and I'm a hard worker, right? And if I can start out the day and pre-program my mind, and make that a pattern, then I will definitely be less likely to internalize shame and take it on as like, oh, I'm stupid, I'm this. And you make that a practice, and it's not something that was just innately something that I did. I had to cultivate that, and it's a daily practice.
Yeah,
right?
I would say that it goes sort of along the lines of what we mentioned yesterday too, with this idea of, yes, cultivate the practice. So do a daily like miracle morning type thing, a journal like for yourself of I am strong, I am whatever, I do not need shame doesn't help me, right? But then visualize yourself when you're in those moments. What are you going to do? Like imagine, and I know that sounds weird, but literally imagine that your wife comes to you with, or you've done something mean, whatever that is, your wife comes to you and says,
or you made a mistake. Or you made a mistake. You made a mistake.
Sure. And then your wife says, I hurt my feelings, blah, blah, blah. Imagine what it looks like. Envision what it looks like. Repairing that without shame as the center and the core. Because you will behave differently when shame is not present. But if you've never done it before and you don't know what it looks like, you're going to stumble through it and then not do it and then feel more shame and feel more guilt.
Right. And then with the therapist and other people and books and stuff, content that you are consuming, you're going to find out where that shame came from. Usually it comes from something in childhood or something. Maybe you did make a big mistake. Maybe you blew it. For some reason, you can't let that go. You're going to go back and process that. And visualization, that's one of the 6 steps in the Miracle Morning.
It is.
And one of the awesome things that's in that book now, the High Performance Planner, is name a situation today that may bring you stress, that may put the heat on, and may make you go sideways. It doesn't say that, but whatever. And for me, it was like, okay, if we have family stress with our kids, if people are tripping out, and then if you are upset at me with something. So that brings me stress. And then the very next question is, how do you see yourself? How can you bring your best self to that stressful situation, and what are you going to do about it?
Like, how are you going to handle it well?
Right. And I wrote in my thing, I can handle it with patience, with love, and leadership, and calmness.
Yeah.
Because every time I don't have those things, when those sideways things happen, boom, it just exacerbates everything and makes it worse, right?
I do want to say too that there is a thing that you can do by simply acknowledging it when it happens, and you can let your wife know, like, in a time where you're not going through it, so at a good time, say, hey, I know that you have seen, it's obvious that I'm beating myself up when we're in an argument. I'm really sorry, wife, that I've been doing that, because I know that's frustrating to you. It makes me look selfish, it makes me look like a turd, and it makes me look like I don't care about you. So say those things to your wife when you're not in a moment of conflict, and then tell her, so next time we get into conflict, I'm going to try my best to acknowledge that I'm feeling shame, and then turn that into like an actionable step. And so what that would look like in conflict is you have that moment where you realize, oh, I'm doing the shame thing again. And you say, and trust me, I know this stuff is hard, but you can do it. You say, sweetheart, I'm really sorry. I'm doing that weird shame thing. I just need like 2 seconds to kind of get myself together. And I don't want to do that same cycle, because I know it's not honoring to you and how you're feeling and what needs to go on. So I'm really sorry, just for a second, I'm going to think about it, or whatever your process looks like.
And then it's your wife's job to give you that space. Like Melanie has called me selfish a bunch of times, when in actuality, I wasn't trying to be selfish. I was doing the best that I could to, how do I make sense of this shame that I'm feeling?
To manage
I'm going to withdraw, and I'm too, it's like a beehive in my brain. I need to remove myself from the situation. But that would be like, oh, he's leaving again, or he's going to get a brownie or something. It was like, it's all literally, I mean, if you're just like using that excuse, like, oh, I gotta go get a beer, then that might be an issue. But however, the selfishness, the perceived selfishness that is happening may not be selfishness, and that's very important for your wife to understand, and then for you to understand, because if she's calling you selfish and you believe it, what is that going to do for your shame cycle? I'm a piece of crap. Oh, now I'm just selfish. What's wrong with me? Boom, boom, boom. So you have to break that cycle. You have to do some sort of massive action to take hold of that situation.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting a ton of questions, and I don't want to ignore any of these.
No, I do want to say really quickly that you should also look into the Enneagram if you haven't done it yet. It's very sort of like revelatory into what your brain does when you're in conflict. Let's see. Someone says on my phone lock screen, Brad, I don't know why I didn't read your name. It says on my phone lock screen, the saying, I will save the best of me for you is there, so I see it every time I open my phone. I love
That's
that
a great reminder.
so much. I don't know why it's not scrolling.
We're cute.
We're cute and matching.
Not planned, but thanks.
That wasn't planned. I've learned that prefacing with I feel like you are saying always helps promote growth and healing. Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, because what is that? That's an I statement. It's not you always do whatever. It's like I feel, and who's
clarifying.
in charge of our feelings? You are. You're
Satan.
the only
Just
person.
kidding.
Whoa.
I'm just joking. Thought it'd be funny to say.
Go down.
I tried.
Let's see.
It's like
there was a big one. Okay. How to take pressure off a husband who internalizes stress from work and expectation for himself. He has a hard time opening up about it, but his stress manifests in ways that affect him, me, and our kids. Yes. Okay. So this sounds like a wife wanting to help out, seeing the stress is happening, and the dude being a kind of a cultural typical dude, not knowing how to process that, thinking I can white knuckle this, I don't want to share problems, right? Probably every couple has experienced that ever. So first, I want to normalize that a little bit, and then how do you think, so I'm speaking to, I'm assuming, the wife here, how do you, knowing your husband, tell me about, I want you to think about a time, so we're kind of flipping it. Tell me, wife, about a time when you saw your husband not stressed out. He was able to open up to you. He was able to engage in a conversation that kind of left that stress behind, right? So think about, what was it? What kind of day was it? How did the morning go? How did the evening go? All that. And then I want you to try to recreate those things. This is this is a solution-focused therapy tenet. It's like, okay, tell me about a time when the problem wasn't the problem.
Yeah.
And literally, what time of day was it? What did you eat for breakfast? Were you guys intimate the night before? Was it a low-stress work day? You're going to try to recreate those things and help to facilitate. So that is so, I think, like the power of a loving wife is so awesome because you guys, you, wife, and other wives, can see things that I can't see, that guys can't see, and you have the ability to really speak life into that in a good way. It's like we were talking to Anthony O'Neill yesterday from Ramsey Personalities. It's like we have to have someone who has our six, right? And that means Melanie has my back, I have her back. So if she sees the danger that I don't see, then you can identify that and help me. You can be the smoke alarm.
Yeah.
Like Dr. Stosny talks about.
Yeah, well, and I think too, it's really important for, and this makes me think of that Bible, like the Bible verse in Genesis where it's like God made Eve as a helper, which I'm literally reading that right now. I read it today, and it's weird because I never really thought about that. I didn't care about it. Not that I thought it was good or bad, but I think now that I'm thinking of it in the context of that question, it's like Seth and men are taught by culture to just like, you're gonna get through this. It doesn't matter if it kills you. You're just gonna do it.
I told you once. This was recent too. I was like, I'll do anything. What did I say?
Like you were talking about, you'll just like white knuckle through anything. He won't change it to make it better. Yeah. He'll just suffer through it because he thinks he's trained to. Men are kind of trained to do that. It's
easier that way. It's easier to do that than to open up and talk about it.
Yeah, and so why I'm saying that, why I'm bringing up this concept is that what the first thing that came to my head when we read the question is that there is a way that as women, like I would see that and say, Seth, you're so stressed out. Why don't you open up to me? Why don't you, I would like vomit the things he's not doing onto an already...
You would pursue, and I would only...
I would pursue, but like not in a very helpful way. I would pursue in a way that made you feel shame and guilt. You're not doing the right thing, although you're paying all the bills and you're doing all the things and you're all that. So I think what's really kind of powerfully cool here is that as a wife or a partner, I mean, I guess this goes both directions. Like if the wife works and the husband is at home and blah, 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 it could go that way. But you can, as the partner, say, hey, gosh, you do a lot. you do a lot, Seth. Is there anything that I can do to make this easier for you? We've literally have just recently done this. Like I have just last week said, you are doing so much, you're juggling so many things. What can I take off of your plate that would make you feel the most appreciated, loved, valued, and give you more time? And because if I assume that I know what it is, that's not helpful for him. And sometimes the thing I think he needs is not the thing he needs. And it's more damaging, more hurtful, more weird if I just try to step in and say, I see you're doing this, that's not good, I'm going to take over. So I would really invite you as the partner not to like point it out as flaws, that you're overloaded, you're busy, you can't blah blah blah, you're doing too much, it affects our kids, right? Because that's how I would normally do it. So what I would say though is sort of walk alongside your husband and say, gosh, look at all the things you do, you're so good at these things, and thank you. I see that you're doing them. Gosh, I can't. And I said to Seth, I would not be able to do the things that you do. I really wouldn't. And so kind of stepping alongside of him and saying, what are the things I can do that will make you feel like, you know, rest, like you can rest or whatever. And it's sort of an invitation instead of a pointing out, because I just suck at invitations. There's so many people have written
I know.
things.
Thank you guys so much. Okay.
It says, love that. Thank you. I know a lot of time he just doesn't want to stress me out. And so I also want to show that I'm strong enough and I care and I can share the burden with him. Yes.
Oh, yes. So, geez.
There's a lot. That's a whole...
This is like identical to us. Like, I don't tell Melanie things. So it's like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to stress her out. I don't want to burden her.
But when he doesn't tell me, I don't learn that it's stressful to him.
You don't learn that it's stressful, and it's not very connecting either. You know, you ask me all the time, what are you thinking? I'm like, I'm not thinking.
I love it because the boys do the same thing. What are you thinking, Mariner?
I don't know.
Nothing.
Right?
I think it's really funny. But we can talk about that another time too.
Yeah,
but we have
sorry.
another question I wanted to answer.
Okay, there's another question here. Okay, my husband is always one to beat. Hold on.
It's too long. We can copy it.
Okay. I just want to read it. My husband is always one to beat himself up. He has a hard time stepping up and stepping out. He is not the most experienced in certain areas, and I get frustrated sometimes. For example, he's not a handyman. He does things halfway, and it doesn't bother himself. He sweeps before we clean the counters. We're laughing because that's something that has...
I try hard not to shame him, but at times I just get so frustrated and don't understand his logic. I'm very methodical and logical thinker. He's just not. How can we embrace this about him rather than getting so mad at him for bonehead things he does? I don't want him to feel stupid all the time and really feel like I make him feel stupid. Are you speaking about moi?
That's right.
And ya?
So speak to that, because we have a zillion questions. Give like a super awesome synopsis of it.
Here's my super awesome synopsis. That is exactly what we have done.
Yeah.
So I think you've done the Enneagram. If you haven't, I would suggest doing it. But the thing that helped me not just absolutely sort of like fire hose Seth with my preferences in the world was understanding that they don't matter to him. Sweeping before you wipe the crumbs off the counter matters to me, but Seth could live his entire life and never doing that, and it would never matter to him. And so for me to impose my standards of living onto him is harmful, right? It is actually harmful to our relationship, to my perception of Seth. Holding him to my standard is not going to be a healthy thing ever in our marriage. And so it took me understanding, and it was actually in season 1 where Matt, our friend, and he helped produce season 1, he talked about this idea of acceptance. Like, acceptance is one of the biggest and most important things in marriage, and I didn't understand it fully at the time, but accepting that Seth doesn't care about that. Accepting that if Seth lived on his own, his house would look messy, and he doesn't care.
With the example of me not putting my shoes away or something, it is absolutely not me running through an algorithm. Okay, shoes here, shoes there. This is the maybe worst one. I choose that.
Yeah, he doesn't go,
that's never a process.
Which option? Dust the crumbs off the counter first or sweep first?
It's like going to the grocery store. You know, you see 3 of the same item and the tags are messed up. This one's $9.99, this one's $5.99, and this one's $2.99. Oh, I got to choose the $9.99 just because. No, that's not going to happen. You're going to choose the best one that you think is the one. Okay, I hope you take this the right way. Y'all are way better than any marriage conference I've ever been. I take that to the right way.
That is,
take that a very right way. Thank you.
Awesome.
And that was, mind you, our very first marriage conference. So we were flying by The pants
No,
of our
that's
seats.
not what they're saying.
Seats of our pants. What?
Yeah,
When? Oh,
yeah,
I get
that's
it.
not what he's
Okay,
saying.
sorry. I thought you were talking about the marriage conference. So
yeah.
okay, well that's awesome. That is. A
I
good
will.
one.
He
You
will
should come
even
to our
wash the
real.
dishes, but they're still dirty when you go put them away. Yeah, Seth does that too.
Ugh,
So,
oh, boy.
Brittany, you're not alone. This is not anything unique to you. It's called being married to a human.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like and I'm not exaggerating when I say this. Like, I had to literally meditate on. I cannot let these things bother me. It is not worth it in the long run, right? So here's a good thing. It's going to seem super sad, but whatever, I'm going to go there. One of my best friends, Chelsea, died this last year. Her husband would give anything to be next to the stupid quirks that she did that he did not like. He would give absolutely anything.
Right.
And I think that often, because we've had many friends of ours who are married die lately and in the past, and in that sentence, just think about what really matters.
Yeah.
Is it my partner matters, or is it the crumbs on the counter matter? Because they don't. They actually don't. They matter to you, but not to him. And so it's a matter of figuring out, like, how do we find that balance? And how do I learn to accept lovingly these differences?
So what are the options? Let's be extreme here and let's play it out. So, there are always going to be crumbs on the counter. And I always am going to fight that. And I always am going to cause conflict in it. And I am always going to internalize that the crumbs on the counter reflect that he doesn't listen, he doesn't love me, and I'm always going to argue about it. Okay. Is that what you want? Or can you change and...
Growth mindset. You got this.
Growth mindset. Flip the code around, the code switch or whatever. Flip the paradigm and say, these crumbs on the counter... they annoy me. Yeah. They annoy me. I would prefer if it wasn't that way, but I'm not going to let that create all this dissonance and conflict in our marriage because I would rather overlook these things and have a healthy marriage. Now, if it's like abuse or drinking or some sort of chronic thing that is not okay, then of course, get outside help for that. I'm not saying that, but if it's small things, Melanie never turns any lights off, ever, for years. And now the kids don't. And it's a dad thing, I guess. Turn the lights out. And it bugs me. But I just maybe say something like, hello, lights, and then turn them off, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother me. Or other things. And I know that you've been, I don't know, maybe it's a personality. I'm whatever, kind of chill.
Oh, I'm sure it's a personality.
That's a personality type that you have. It's like, this goes here, and this, I gotta do this, you know? So don't let your personality type get in the way of a healthy and good relationship.
Someone asked about an Enneagram test.
What is the best Enneagram test? I think it's
It's the Weeps, WEPPS or something.
Oh, darn it.
We can figure it out.
I don't remember.
But,
can you email us and ask? I think that the EnneagramInstitute.com has one. And it's called the Ready. RHETI. Ready.
Who did that one? I didn't do that one.
Feels so good to not know I'm not alone. You aren't. That's why we want to do this, to normalize and create the podcast that we wanted. So, you guys, we're coming up on 25 minutes.
No, we had one more question to read, and you didn't let me read it.
Well,
so there's the last one.
Ian Cron just came out with a new one, too. Ian Cron is an Enneagram guy. He has a podcast.
This is a question. It says, how do you deal with opposite needs? I feel like our life is chaotic and stressful because I have the need to have some semblance of planning and routine, but it makes my partner itchy, his words, to have his day planned out. We've been able to work this out in some ways. I chose the weekends that we camp, but we don't know where we're going until he decides the day of. I make a point to remain open to his spontaneity and not overschedule us, etc., but on the day-to-day stuff, I'm drowning and craving some kind of routine. When I've attempted to create a routine of my own, I find that he doesn't buy into it or wants or does change things at the last minute. We both work and have kids, so some routine around at least pick up, dinner, homework seems important? ?
Okay, so that's a good start. How can you tell him that these routines around pickup, kids pick up, dinner, and other stuff are important to you, and how can we continue those, or how can we expound upon those? There's a book, it's a great book, and it's a Navy SEAL dude. His name is Jocko Willink, and one of his books are called Discipline Equals Freedom. And what he means, it's not like corporal punishment discipline, it's having a routine, having a predictable schedule gives you freedom in your brain to think about other things. Like, okay, no matter what, from 12 to 2 p.m., because all of my other stuff is done, I have creative freedom to go on a walk and think and pray and meditate or whatever. I don't know, whatever it is. But the discipline of it equals the freedom around that. And I am the world's worst on that because I go, hey, I feel this, let's do this. Whether it's go to the movies, eat ice cream, go on a bike ride, go to the woods to shoot guns, whatever other stuff that really affects our house, eat dinner late. Well, I had to do this, I had to go see a client. And I'm finding that the more discipline that I have, so maybe this is a conversation, or maybe your husband should listen to this, I don't know. It's helpful. It doesn't seem like it at first, but it is helpful.
I know, but her question is that they're not the same. So here's
not the same.
My best friend and her partner are like this. And the thing that she has learned and that we've learned in different areas, like she's a doctor. And so we talk about brain things and doctory things all the time. And she loves Enneagram. One of the things that she figured out was that her husband's Enneagram type and his upbringing, his family of origin, he craves freedom. Like as much as you crave routine, as much as she craves routine, because she's a doctor and she loves routine and checklists and all that, he craves, you will not tie me down. No one will tell me what to do. I need to be who I am, right? And so that's very hard because these are very opposite, almost conflictual things where one is saying, I need a checklist, the other one's saying, I hate all checklists ever. And so what I would say is start kind of individually, where do you need your own checklist? And that's a little bit of what I do. I used to try to impose my checklist onto Seth, and he's like, whatever, I've got my own stuff to do.
Right.
And so I stopped doing that because it wasn't helpful. But I have a checklist for myself, and the kids have checklists. So I actually posted that on my Instagram the other day, where the kids have, I made laminated checklists, literally, the morning things the kids have to do, and then the afternoon things the kids have to do, because I need that structure. Seth has nothing to do with that checklist. But he will kindly acquiesce if I say, can you have the kids do their chore list or checklist or whatever. So that's a good place to start, where like, what can I do to make myself feel better about this right now, and not necessarily make my husband see things the way that I see them or function the way that I want to function. The other thing too is, and this might be tricky and maybe you've tried it or not, use a calendar or a timer that you can point to when stuff is feeling weird. Let me kind of explain what that is. So we have this new thing we're trying where if it's not on the calendar, we don't really do it, because our family, our children need boundaries and borders and time frames and structure, or else they literally just go wild. They cry, they get upset, they fight for things, they want things to be different. They know that there's like so many options that they feel actually unhappy because there's no structure. So we build in structure using a calendar. And when the calendar says, oh, we're going home at 8, we go home at 8. And you can get mad at the calendar because it was on the calendar. It wasn't me making it up. It was, we've already decided, and that's what we're doing. So you could do that relationally.
That makes me think of the concept of decision fatigue, and then another concept that I created myself. It's called the lunch lady syndrome. Yeah. And I remember in elementary school, I never cared what we were going to eat, and whatever we went to get lunch from the lunch lady, we just ate it, and I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to pack it. I didn't have to do anything. I was like, oh,
you didn't have to make a choice. You just ate what was there.
Rectangle pizza and powdered mashed potatoes. It just ate it, and you didn't care. And there is a predictability and a comfort in that. So if we can create that around it, and you have to see why people are so opposed to it, like Melanie was saying, family of origin stuff, it's like, okay, I was pinned down my whole life. Yeah. I don't care what we do. Yeah. I just want to do what I want to do. And that's also a personality type too. So, okay. Almost 30 minutes. You guys are awesome. Keep the questions coming. hello@anatomyofmarriage.com. Send those questions in. You guys are going to have an awesome day. It's Wednesday. Be awesome.
Thank you for joining us. If you haven't already rated the podcast on iTunes, please do that. We'll read your rating and your review on the show. And please check out audibletrial.com/anatomy of marriage to get a free audiobook on us. We love audiobooks. And thank you again. Just send in your questions to hello@anatomyofmarriage.com, and y'all are going to have an amazing day. We love you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Misty. Thanks, Lily. All right. Bye, guys.